let everyone know that homelessness right now is a focus point at the Joint Venture Symposium this morning, so she wanted to make a point to be there, but she didn't want to cancel this meeting. So I hope everyone got a copy of the agenda. I did not print any because my home printer isn't working, so sorry if you guys need one. I can email it to anyone if they need it, but why don't we start with introduction? We can start going this way and we'll go all the way around.
Linda Jones with the county.
Mike Beasley.
Dread with CSUMB.
I'm Amy Hayes. I'm the manager of the Mobile Crisis Response Team. Jan and Michelle Covert asked me to come and present today.
Did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Wes White. I do a YouTube channel. I live in Salinas. Anything I'm feeling positive, and I'm a president of the Salinas Homeless Union, part of the California Homeless Union.
My name is Brent Carson. I'm a clinician with the Mobile Crisis Response Team.
I'm Cindy Camilleri. I work for Gilroy Unified School District with the McKinney-Vento Foster Youth and Migrant Families.
Good morning. My name is Inclement. I work at the Santa Clara County Office of Education doing homeless education services.
Roberta Gunderson, I'm the program coordinator for Gardner's Healthcare for the Homeless project. And I can't wait to talk to you two afterwards. And we do homeless healthcare services down here in Gilroy and up in North County as well.
I'm Ivan Ashgari. I'm here to listen and learn.
I'm Joy Summer Medical Social Worker, part of Valley Homeless Healthcare Program, and I work in the mobile medical units here in Gilroy.
My name is Lamont Tony. I'm here with Security.
Pam Hornquist, nurse executive for St. Louis.
I'm Marta Rivera. I'm the interim nurse manager in the emergency department at St. Louis.
I'm Nicole Nguyen, nurse case manager from St. Louis Regional Hospital.
Vicki Chung, medical social worker for St. Louis Regional Hospital.
Colossus with St. Joseph, the housing specialist.
I'm Rosemary Carranza. I'm a case manager with St. Joseph's Family Center, and I manage the Gilroy Case Program.
And like I said, I'm Vanessa with the Gilroy Compassion Center. So there is like a roster going around if everyone could, if you haven't gotten it already, if you can make sure that you raise your hand and we'll pass it down if you can write your name in. Just a quick note of the time changes. So we used to have the closed case management session right at 10 and then 10:15 was the open session. We kind of switched it because we rather just have those that it's relevant to stay behind rather than have everyone waiting out there. So we're just going to go straight into the general open meeting. So to start, I guess we'll just start with your presentation so that we can have
So while we're getting this set up, so again, I'm Amy Hayes. I'm the healthcare program manager over the Mobile Crisis Response Team and the IHOP program. I'm going to talk about both of those programs. I do talk fast. I'm willing to repeat anything, and there will be plenty of time for questions. And you guys are all going to walk out of this room with my phone number, so you can ask questions if you think of them later, because your brain caught up to what I said because I talked really fast.
What type of connection does it have?
It's on the right-hand side.
and then I saw we had another individual walk in. Do you want to introduce yourself to the group? We did introductions already.
Okay, hi, I'm Sam. I do outreach with, for Gilroy.
Yeah, awesome. We just want to make sure you're all introductions. So cool.
So while we're getting this set up, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why the Mobile Crisis Response Team exists. So the year before our program came into existence, there were a number of officer-involved shootings with mentally ill clients. And that was something that was put on the radar. There's a lot of national media attention, both here and in other places, that folks with mental illness were getting, having really negative interactions with police officers. And so that got a lot of attention, put the spotlight on us. In addition to that, one of the things that police officers were finding was that they would go out and encounter clients that were having a mental health crisis and engaging in criminal activity, but that activity was better addressed by the behavioral health system than it was by the criminal justice system. So additionally, they would go out and they would assess somebody, and that person would end up going, officers would take that person to jail. And maybe jail wasn't the best level of care for that person for that incident. So additionally, they would send them to EPS. Emergency psychiatric services might also not be the best location for that person to go in an acute crisis. And so they realized that having a group of folks that they could call on that were mental health clinicians that could go out and assess a client and refer them to the appropriate level of care could save money, reduce cost, reduce injury, and have better outcomes for the clients. So we're very big on making sure that the clients get a good level of care while they are being assessed for a mental health crisis. does the mobile crisis response team do? So my staff have an office here in Gilroy. They're at the self-help center. Bradley here, who is here to answer all the questions about that and what it's like on the front line. Bradley here works in Gilroy along with Antoinette. So I have two staff down here, and I also have the main office in San Jose. We are located out of the mental health urgent care facilities at the VMC campus in San Jose. And so we provide crisis response. We will do phone screenings. We have a call center, staff set at a phone, and when you call in to a 1-800 number, which I'm going to give you multiple times once I get this up and running, you get your call screened to determine what type of an incident it is. So they'll ask you a couple of questions. They try to keep it very brief, but get enough information that we know if we need to respond in person, or if we can de-escalate over the phone, or if we can refer you to a better level of care. There's a variety of options. My staff are very well trained in knowing the systems that exist in Santa Clara County, and so they will get you to the right place. And sometimes that right place means that we come out in person. 95% of the time we respond with law enforcement for our own safety and for the safety of the clients. And sometimes that means we will send you to urgent care. Sometimes it means we send you to Blackbird House, which is a peer respite program. Sometimes crisis stabilization is more appropriate. So we'll help facilitate what needs to happen given the details that you give us on that situation. We also will provide consultation if you happen to be a clinician or are working with somebody who has the ability to write a 5150 and you're uncertain as to whether or not something meets criteria. You can call and consult with us, and we will give you our information. Everyone who answers the phones is either licensed or pre-licensed. So what sort of things will we come out to? We will come out into the field to assess for an acute mental health crisis. Now, an acute mental health crisis is when someone might meet criteria for 5150. A 5150 is an involuntary psychiatric hold that can last up to 72 hours. And there are three things that might be an acute mental health crisis or that might lead to a 5150 hold. First one is danger to self. So if someone is acutely suicidal, if someone says, I'm thinking about hurting myself, and you're not sure if it's acute, you can call us and consult. Danger to others is number two. If someone says, I'm going to shoot somebody, I've got a gun, and I know where that person is, that's probably going to result in a 5150 hold. Someone could say something a little more lightweight. They're going to get it. What does that mean exactly? If you're not sure, call us, consult. We will help point you in the right direction on what to do with that situation. And the third one is grave disability. Grave disability is a little more complicated. It's a technical term. It's a clinical term. It means someone cannot provide for their own needs for food, clothing, and shelter. All y'all work with homeless people. Being homeless does not mean you are gravely disabled. Some people are very savvy at being homeless. They have cobbled together. They've got an encampment. They know where to go. They know when to stay in the shelter and when not to. Those folks are not gravely disabled. It's somebody who doesn't realize that they've got an open wound. Somebody who doesn't realize that it's too cold outside for the clothing that they're wearing. It's somebody who doesn't eat their food because they believe it's being poisoned. Someone who strips off their clothing because they think that that's where all the listening devices are. Stuff like that. If it's because of a mental illness, those folks might be gravely disabled. And so if you are uncertain about what's going on, you see somebody engaging in dangerous behavior and they don't seem to be really with it, you can call us and consult, and we will very likely come out and assess that person in person. Alright, so we're very big on meeting the client's needs. Like I mentioned, there are a variety of services that we can coordinate with. About 80% of the time when we go out, we do not write a 5150 hold. So we are not annoying client removal service. Someone shows up at your office and starts acting a ruckus, we may or may not be able to take them away. 80% of the time we do not. 20% of the time they will be placed on an involuntary hold, they will be transported to EPS. But the 80% of the time, we're doing a lot of resource and referral. So part of that can be, we go, okay, you don't meet criteria for a 5150 hold, you're not a danger to yourself, others, you're not gravely disabled, but you're having a really rough time. How would you feel about getting in a taxi that we will provide and going to a crisis stabilization unit? We have a direct referral process with CSU. We can get them in the door without too much hoopla and hassle. It's a pretty great system. They've got a nice fish tank. It's a great place to have 3 hots and a cot if you're having a rough time. They have clinicians on staff 24 hours a day. So we can send them there. We can also send them to mental health urgent care. Mental health urgent care is open 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. They can walk in, be assessed, talk to a clinician, get an appointment with a psychiatrist, get bridge medication if their psychiatrist isn't around for whatever reason, and like I said, be assessed. We will also help connect them back to their mental health treatment providers if they have them. They're connected with Community Solutions, Momentum, Gardner. We will get those folks on the phone and try to get them to go out with our team to be able to have in-person contact, because we always like to have the folks who know the client around and giving us information so we know what's baseline and what's not baseline for that client. It also helps for aftercare coordination. If we know they've got a momentum case manager therapist that they're already connected with, and we go out and see this crisis, if we can directly give that information to them, it helps make the process very smooth, and we can help access whatever resources that clinician might know about that we don't, which is pretty great. So who are the mobile crisis response folks? So I have 12 coded positions, 9 of them are filled. Those are filled by licensed and pre-licensed folks. That means MSWs and MFTs. Some of them are licensed, some of them aren't. We also have 2 law enforcement liaisons, John Costa and Tony Lopez. They are 2 of my favorite people. They are retired officers from Palo Alto and Mountain View. One's a retired captain, one's a retired sergeant. And they are great because sometimes as clinicians, we're very touchy-feely and we don't always speak police officer. And so they're very good at helping negotiate and navigate that, which is very helpful to have. So we coordinate with them in order to make up a plan of action, and oftentimes law enforcement officers will contact them to coordinate with us. So law enforcement officers have a direct line. So this guy back here could call John and Tony directly, or they can call the law enforcement line at the call center directly. In order to get us, we roll out on about 95% of the calls we get from law enforcement. The other 5%, they call us, and then 2 minutes later they call back and say, just kidding, it's taking care of itself. Now, some folks will say, I have this client here, this client's really afraid of the police. They don't want the police to come out. I'm afraid they're going to get arrested. We have we hear this a lot, and our response to that is, it's for our safety. We come out with officers. We're not bringing officers out to arrest somebody, because like I said, at the very first part of this is we want to make sure that people go to the appropriate level of care. And jail is oftentimes not the appropriate level of care for somebody who's having a mental health crisis. So we have that conversation. And also, it's for our own safety. If someone's calling us and saying this person's a danger to themselves or someone else, they might be a danger to my staff. So I want to make sure my staff is safe. And so we work very closely with law enforcement to make sure that everything goes smoothly, and so far that has been my experience with it. We also need to make sure that law enforcement are having their needs met from us. There's many officers that have been through CIT training, but not all of them have. And having a licensed clinician that can come out and go like, hey, this is what grave disability looks like. We're going to write the hold for you. We'll take care of all that paperwork. We're going to transport them through WestMed, so that takes the burden off of you guys. We have this lovely sort of like tit-for-tat relationship, which works out very well, which is another reason we go out with law enforcement. So the mobile crisis response team operates, in theory, 24 hours. I have staff in the office Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So people like Bradley, sitting at a computer, at a phone, waiting for your call, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Who can call?
Anyone can call the community line.
Anybody?
Anybody.
Okay.
Anybody. You can give the call center number, which I will repeat ad nauseum at the end of this presentation. You can give that number to anyone. Your clients can have it. You can put it, like write it on your marker board, post a sign. If you're having an acute mental health crisis, call this number anytime.
About who can call, we have trained staff that can help people in Vietnamese and Spanish, but we also have the support of a translation line that it takes like 2 minutes or less than 2 minutes to get a translator in pretty much any language. So like we've had Russian, Farsi, like you name it, anybody that's Romanian, any language that's in our county service, we have translators for. So we can, and also in the field, we can have the translator phone with us, so we can meet the needs of anybody can call and we can help them.
Do you guys respond to like the emergency room or hospitals, or this is for like?
Yes. I'm going to ask everybody to hold their questions because they would be really easy for us to get into the weeds, and I'm probably going to get to most of these questions. But yes, we would respond to a hospital.
Thank you.
Okay. So where does the mobile crisis response team respond? Anywhere in Santa Clara County. We will go into a homeless encampment. We will go down by the railroad tracks. We will go to someone's house. We will go to a hospital. We will go to wherever it happens to be taking place. Wherever the crisis is, we will show up. Like I said, we go with law enforcement 95% of the time. But we will go wherever it is, as long as it's within Santa Clara County. Every now and then we get these edge of the county calls and we have to figure it out, but we will respond anywhere in the county. And like I said, we do have a satellite office in Gilroy that helps keep our response times down. We had a Gilroy call earlier this week. How long did it take you to get there?
8 minutes.
8 minutes. So we've got folks down here just for that reason, to make sure you guys are taken care of. Like Brad already said, we do have services in other languages. We have staff that speak Spanish and Vietnamese, Taiwanese,
Oh,
Mandarin, and
Japanese.
Japanese.
Yeah.
Staff that speak those languages that work in our center speak those. And then we have the language line for the other stuff. All right, so the phone number that I want everyone in this room to write down, put it in your cell phone, tattoo it somewhere. That number is 1-800-704-0900. Again, that's 1-800-704-0900. If you call that number, you will get a series of options. It'll ask you what language you want services in, and then it will ask you for, the option number 1 is going to be suicide and crisis. That's a hotline that you can just talk to somebody. Suicide and crisis has the ability to transfer a call to my team if it is deemed that someone needs to go out in person. Option number 2 is mobile crisis. That's my team. If you mess up and hit the wrong button, you can get transferred over, it'll be fine. I think option number 3 is the call center.
Sure.
I think option number 3 is a call center if you want to do a regular run-of-the-mill mental health services referral. That's option number 3, and I think option 4 is like grievances or something. But option number 2 is what you were looking for. And again, what is that number?
800.
800.
1-800?
704.
Fantastic. All right, now I am ready for questions. That was it.
I have a question.
Yeah,
So you're in Gilroy,
I'm in Gilroy.
always in Gilroy? Is this your area then?
Okay, so on paper, I've been in Gilroy since July. And I want to be in Gilroy all the time, but sometimes they need me to cover up, but I'm not up in mental health urgent care. But there's also Antoinette, who's our clinical lead, is in Gilroy. So one of us will always be in Gilroy. So right now, best case scenario, there would be 2 of us, but right now, I am since July.
And so, like, what happened? My staff always goes out in pairs. So Brad was down here. Antoinette wasn't in that day. So Brad went out, and then we sent someone from the San Jose office to go meet with them. Right. So we will always, to the best of our ability, send 2. It's very, very rare, super like one-off scenarios where only one clinician shows up. I like sending 2 because if 2 clinicians agree, then I'm pretty confident in the outcome.
Yeah.
So that's 7 days a week, 8 to 8?
So it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 8. On the weekends and after hours, what happens, if you call that call center number, same number, hit option 2, the call center manager or one of the call center managers will end up screening the call. It won't be my staff. And then usually it'll be Joe. So be like, hey Joe, Amy said you'd be screening my call. And then Joe will, if he decides that it's a mobile crisis response call, he'll forward it to me. I wear this lovely watch that allows me to be woken up in the middle of the night in case there's an emergency. So I will get the call, and either myself, one of the on-call staff that handle calls on the weekends and overnight, or my boss, McKelly, will come out in person if it's a real-time call.
Yeah.
So your hours are really beyond 8 p.m. then if you're doing...
We have staff in the office answering the phone, like my staff is answering the calls 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. But nights and weekends, it's filtered through the call center, so it's a different screening process. So sometimes what'll happen, like Joe might think it's a real-time call and it isn't. He'll forward it to me. I'll call and be like, oh, hey, this happened 4 days ago. This isn't happening right now. We will only respond to something that's happening right now and we know where the client is. So.
Is that all on the same number you give us?
All on the same number.
Yeah.
Would you say it would be worthwhile, okay, so our mobile unit is out until 9 or 9:30 at night sometimes. Would you say it would be worth it, if something happens at 8:30, is it worth a call to you, being that we're only there for another hour or so? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like response time. With you guys, it's that good?
Yeah.
After hours? Yay!
Yeah. I mean,
No, because I'm thinking about my own doctor who calls me back 2 days later after hours.
Oh, no. This is, so if you screen the call, Joe calls me, I wake up groggy in the middle of the night, and I call back to figure out what information I need, if I need to call law enforcement, and like who on my staff is gonna call out. The logistics of that take some time, 15 or 20 minutes, but our response time is almost universally
Wow.
less than an hour.
Oh, that's, okay,
Um,
thanks.
The outside exceptions to that are if we get a call in Palo Alto at like 4, it's hard to get there in
Sure,
less than an
sure.
hour because of traffic.
Yeah,
But outside of that, we do respond in real time.
okay, cool.
And I haven't, I mean, my record for an after-hour call response was 7 minutes. I had just finished up dinner at like 9 o'clock at night. I had just paid my check and I was like, all right, I'm getting in the car and I'm going. And there I was. So
Okay,
that's my record.
that's, wow.
You can't always expect that, but that is the record for an after-hours call. Actually, when I showed up, Officer Zanato was like, I just got off the phone with John, how are you even here? And I'm like, I'm magic.
Can I touch on something with that?
Okay.
So, let's say hypothetically, you call and ask for help. Like, of course, we always want to help and the needs of the clients come first and we get paid overtime and stuff like that. But if you think about it, we know about all the spectrum of resources and we've got that dialed into our minds. So it might be a way that we could connect them to some other thing that better meets their needs.
Okay.
And at the same time, yeah, if it's a gray area, our policy is if it's a gray area, then we go and check it out. So we always err on the side of the client's needs. So that's sort of our paradigm is like, if it's a maybe, then we go and make sure the client is supported.
Okay, thank you. And I gotta tell you, Johnny Costa's fantastic. He does trainings for us and, you know, if anybody ever needs a great crisis person to train you, he'll do groups and he's wonderful, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He does the IVST training, him and Tony Lopez
Yeah,
both
Tony.
do. It's interactive virtual
Uh-huh,
simulation training. Basically, it helps you, and they use it to train law enforcement officers, clinicians, everybody. My staff's all had the training like 27 times. They train you how to respond to a crisis in the moment
Yeah.
and how to talk somebody down if they're having a mental health crisis. It's a really good training program. I recommend
it
it.
is.
One thing that I was talking to Cindy before the presentation, and I wanted to put out there, so we only respond to folks who are over the age of 18. So if they are under the age of 18, so our school age folks, you would need to call Uplift, and Bradley looked at that phone number for me.
Oh, yeah.
1-877-488-5437.
Is that the general line or the urgent line? So the crisis line, that's like this, the same as us, but for kids, for Uplift, they'll go out and evaluate for 5150, is 408-379-9085. So they're the group that used to be called EMQ services or something like that, and but now they're Uplift.
So that's the emergent, kind of the emergency.
That's
number.
the mental health crisis line for youth.
For you, got it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. 408-379-9085.
And then what was the first number that you listed, the 488-5487?
That's the general one for Uplift Services.
Okay.
Like, so we gave you the 1-800 number.
Was it 408-379-9085?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So you know how we give you our 1-800 number? That's the entry point for all mental health, the county mental health services, and we're option 4 on that. So the one for youth, option 2, option 2.
So the number again for Uplift Crisis is 408-379-9085. Everybody got that? 379-9085?
So that's for you.
Yeah, that's for youngins. And the reason that Uplift Services exists is because I think it's a much better system to have the young people go to their own mental health crisis facility than to have them go to EPS. It can be really overwhelming for someone who's 16 having their first mental health crisis and being in EPS. It can be overly stimulating. That being said, there is a rare occasion where Uplift is at capacity and our staff will go out and respond and we will take them to EPS because we want to make sure that that young person is safe. So we do have the capability to do that. It's just very, very rare.
And that's something that they would coordinate together. So if we called the underage mental health and they were at capacity, I don't need to do anything else, they'll contact you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but just know that that might be something that happens. Other questions, thoughts about like how the logistics of this work? Any confusion about when you should call? When in doubt, call.
What kind of numbers do you have in South County in general?
Very low. I would say 98% of our calls come from not Gilroy. We do get a fair number of calls from Morgan Hill. I would say the overwhelming majority of our calls come from San Jose Police Department. That's our #1 referring agency or provider, because we get law enforcement calls, we get community line calls, but San Jose PD just blows everybody else's numbers out of the water. Makes sense, there's 1 million people in San Jose, so it makes sense that they would have more calls than other folks. But that's one of the reasons why I'm here. I want to make sure that you guys know that we exist and that we do come out, because Brad literally sits down here and is waiting for you guys to call and give him something interesting to do.
I mean, I get the calls, all of the calls in the county. I'm one of the people logged in to get all the calls, so I usually get like maybe 3 calls a day. In the history of the program, James told me, James has been there since the start, 2 of the calls actually came from Gilroy.
Gilroy Police Department.
Gilroy Police Department. But we've gotten a bunch from the community line, like maybe, I've been to like maybe 4 from people in the community that called us, and then we went. We get a lot of calls from Morgan Hill. Other times Highway Patrol calls us, or Morgan Hill, or the sheriff calls us. We went on calls, the sheriff down here calls us, that one guy that on the farm. Yeah, so the sheriff calls us a lot down here, but it's just a matter of that we're trying to get, let people in the Gilroy community. When the shooting happened, I was down here at the school doing therapy with people and for like 5 days, and so we're mental health service people, we're part of the community, and we want to help.
I have a question. So I imagine a large part of your calls, and so I'm curious how you would handle them, are maybe, so you said like Morgan Hill gets a lot, but I don't imagine that you're actually going out to responding to a lot of them in Morgan Hill, just because knowing the population that's in Morgan Hill, they have mental health, so they're on the side of the street and they're yelling at cars that drive by, but does that fall into your grave? Like, they're able to take care of themselves, they're not walking in the street, they're wearing appropriate clothing, they're still feeding themselves, so they're not in immediate danger of hurting themselves or other people, but they clearly have mental health.
It depends in large part about what information comes through on the call, right? So if it's, Joe Blow citizen calls us and says like, this guy's acting, completely bonkers, we don't know what's going on, he's, partially dressed, whatever. We'll go out and we might get there and go, this guy isn't gravely disabled, but this guy might use some resources. And one of the things, we will connect them, I have a direct line to Michelle Covert to connect folks to the HMIOT, which is changing its acronym to HEAT, but it's the Homeless Mentally Ill Outreach Team. So they will go out and assess folks and try to get them connected to services if they are mentally ill and homeless, but not necessarily gravely disabled, danger to self, danger to others, not necessarily in a crisis right now, but just homeless and have a mental health issue. So they will go out and follow up, because our services are very short term, they are very isolated. We will deal with the incident, we address the crisis in the moment, and then we sort of back away.
Yeah, so one thing that happened to Morgan Hill, we went to meet this guy. He was living in like a shack on a farm. So the plan we created with him was we were going to have him go to the crisis stabilization unit, and then Blackbird House, and then shelters while he was getting connected with Gardner Services. And so basically our job there was connecting that person to resources. And so we had the support of sheriff and other resources that we were able to try and help that person. It didn't work out because of other things, but he had the plan and we helped him and we tried to set that up. So yeah, it's like, another thing is like, let's say somebody calls us and maybe the thing isn't that we respond, but we'll be able to connect them to other resources, maybe call their case manager, let them know they're in distress, or the whole system of care will be able to connect people to or help reconnect them. Do you want to tell them about IHOT? What IHOT's
The other program that I run, which I just want to talk about very briefly, it's called IHOT, it's the In-Home Outreach Team. I didn't name it, it shouldn't be called the In-Home Outreach Team because we work with homeless clients as well. But it is a program that targets folks who have had repeated exposure to the EPS system and haven't been connected to a mental health provider. So it's folks who have a mental health crisis over and over, but for whatever reason, they're not engaging in therapy. They're not engaging with psychiatric services, they're not engaging in what are their other service providers. Those folks tend to have also lots of criminal involvement, lots of emergency room visits as well. So it's high utilizers of multiple systems. We call them HUMs. So we deal with HUMs clients, and my team will go out and try to get them connected to services. And so part of it is mobile crisis may go out and assess that this person isn't holdable, they're not a 5150 call, but they might be a really good referral to the IHOT program, and then the IHOT team will go out and engage with them and get them connected to resources for long-term treatment.
Is that the same number?
Yeah, you would call mobile crisis, they would screen it, and they would do the referral.
So if you I was listening to you earlier when you talked about if this individual needs to be transferred north, then you're arranging that then through Westmed.
If we put someone on a hold, sometimes law enforcement will do a courtesy transfer, and it's really great when they do that. It makes it really easy. But if for whatever reason law enforcement isn't willing to do a courtesy transport for us, we will call Westmed, and Westmed will transfer. The only reason that's kind of annoying is Westmed can take up to an hour to show up. So.
But then they don't have to take a rig out of South County.
Right. Yeah.
So that seems like a very good potential service, is what I was getting.
Yep. And if we're if we're transferring someone to CSU or trying to get them to mental health urgent care, we have taxi vouchers. So that has to be for somebody who's clearly no longer in an acute crisis that they can manage to be in a taxi for that long distance up to North County. But yeah, so we will arrange that transfer. So my staff do not transport themselves. My staff do not put hands on clients. Like I said, we are not an annoying client removal service. We will not take them home if they show up at your place. We will not do that. But if it's facilitating getting them to another level of care, we will assist in that.
To answer your question?
Yeah.
Sounds like you were trying to figure out what we do. So Westmed is a contract for us. They will come out when we call them. It just takes a little bit of time. But the other day, the police called, the Gilroy police called Rural Metro, and Rural Metro was out in like less than 3 minutes. I mean, it was amazing. And those guys just helped the client that we wrote the hold and took off, and the police didn't have to do any paperwork, they didn't have to do anything, so, because we write the hold, and we're specifically trained in how to write the hold that it will work with the rest of the system of care, so that a lot of times there's specific language or ways to write it, and then we'll follow the ambulance up to EPS, talk to the charge nurse, make sure that the client is cared for, and then sometimes if they already have a case provider, we'll follow up with the caseworker to make sure that everybody knows what's going on with the client.
What a wonderful service.
I think so.
Yeah, so we've been around for what, like almost 2 years now?
2 years in January, yeah.
Yeah.
And for a point of reference, in the 2 years, we've handled over 1,000 calls. I think we just capped 1,100. So there's a lot of need for us. We don't respond, like I said, to all of those calls, but they keep us busy, and we are excited and enthusiastic about getting more involvement with South County, which is why I'm here.
So I've got your number, and I've got your, up on the board on the mobile unit, but all it says is mobile crisis response team and the phone number. Do you have anything that maybe, like a flyer or something that has a little more meat to it that I could post up there?
Yeah, so if you guys
That would be great.
literally Google Santa Clara County Behavioral Health Mobile Crisis, it will take you to the Santa Clara County Behavioral Health website, and we have.
And I can download something
Yeah,
there.
there's 3 versions on there. It's in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese, and it's
perfect.
a PDF version so that you can post that in all languages.
And what Santa Clara County
Behavioral Health Mobile
Behavioral
Crisis.
Health, okay.
Yeah, it'll be like the first 3 results on Google, which is somehow easier than if you go to the Santa Clara County website and type that in, you never find it. But if you Google, can find it.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, thoughts?
I do. I was just wondering if you've ever given this presentation to the whole school system here in Gilroy for all the teachers?
So I haven't. I would be surprised if Uplift hasn't done some amount of outreach. Like I said, because it's for school age folk, it's Uplift.
But a lot of children have parents that
Very true.
that get out of control,
Uh-huh.
or situations that you know you need help as a teacher
Right on.
with that situation. So I truly do think that the schools and certainly all the principals, but even all the teachers, K through high school, should hear this.
One of the things that I like doing, and I do this with some amount of trepidation because if everybody remembers, my work phone is connected to my watch, which I wear all the time. So even when I'm sleeping, I will get phone calls that will wake me up in the middle of the night, but I'm going to pass out my business cards. And if you guys know of an organization that might benefit from me coming out and doing a presentation, I'm doing a bit of like a PR campaign right now. So like take one and pass them around. If you know of an agency, an organization, if you want me to come to talk to your staff, I'm absolutely willing to do that. You can tell I'm a giant ham, I love an audience, so please feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call.
A lot of times, there's clients with dual diagnosis, you know that
Yep.
they are drinking with their medication. And in those cases where the worker doesn't want to see them go to jail, but also they know that it could be a 50-50 call, what's the chances that they won't be taken to jail if you come out and says, because a lot of the time they're just drunk, but also there's some concerns there.
Only, it's less than 10% of our clients that we go out on, even though we show up with law enforcement, less than 10% of our clients actually get taken to jail. I think that from my experience, law enforcement officers would rather they go to the sobering center. If it's an alcohol related something, taking them to the sobering center works. If it's a mental health, there's EPS, there's a crisis stabilization unit, there's Blackbird House, and there's mental health urgent care. I think that they would significantly rather see those folks end up at that place, so long as it's not something egregious.
Because most of the behavior is because they've been drinking, but also there's mental health is there. And I was just wondering, because I was more concerned about the armory, because you see that a lot at the Gilroy Armory, that they're an influence, but also they have mental health too.
Yeah, and call us, and if there's a gray area, we'll evaluate them anyways to make sure, because it's like, we look at the greater need of the person rather than the specific factor of their life. And if they're in a mental health crisis, you know, there's probably a lot of contributing factors. So we'd evaluate them as a person rather than like, look at the specific thing, have they been drinking or not.
Yeah, and most of the time it wouldn't be the crisis itself, but you're trying to avoid it from escalating. I would see the staff trying to avoid it from escalating to the, because most of the time the only resort is to call the police to get them to leave the premises, but I was just trying to see it.
Well, and one of the things that you can do, you can, if it's a, you know, someone's in imminent danger right now, call the police. You can ask for a CIT returned officer, and you can also ask for them to call in mobile crisis, and they can tag us in once you've already called 911.
Yeah.
Sometimes what we do too is we'll be screening a call, and we realize, holy crap, this needs law enforcement there right now, lickety split, and my staff can three-way call in 911 in order to give dispatch all the information that they need to make sure law enforcement shows up, and then we show up after.
Yeah, but you won't go without the law enforcement, correct?
For something like that, no, we wouldn't go without law enforcement, right? If there's any risk of danger, like 95% of the time we go with law enforcement, the 5%, you know, we've responded to an 85-year-old woman in a wheelchair who was not taking care of herself. Not particularly worried about my staff being assaulted by that woman, right? So that's the sort of thing where we wouldn't necessarily wait for law enforcement to show up, but outside of that, we do go.
Can I add something to that though?
Yeah.
So I've worked in San Diego County and Monterey County and this county, and this county's police, the sheriff, the police of the different cities are so like well-trained, and it's really an honor to serve with them. And the thing is, when somebody shows up, we talk about what we're going to do before we make contact, and a lot of times the police will be there to like help support us, but they'll let us take like the lead and use our skills, like our de-escalation skills and our like building rapport and respect with the client to actually figure out what the client actually, and because like I'm a social worker and our team of social workers and MFTs, so they've got a lot of skills on helping people as people. So the police are there to like make sure everybody's safe, but it's a lot of times us like making the initial like contact and de-escalating the people and like really building that rapport to help them to get to the services they need.
No, trust me, I love the police department. They're responsible. I have no issue there. It's just that a couple of things that goes on when you're doing an operation like that, and I just know they like to keep the police calls down because also, you know, the neighborhood watches all the calls, and also the fear, you know, the trust issues as you stated, and if there was a reason why the staff would have that option of calling you guys without the police present would be very helpful. But I understand for safety reasons, that's the reason why.
might just see your Gilroy numbers go up after this meeting.
Yeah. That's the reason I'm here. That is absolutely the reason I'm here.
Because most times the staff, they will know their client, they see them day in and day out, and they really wouldn't want to crowd the police department because sometimes it just really needs some de-escalation. Even though the staff been trained, but it's just that, you know, it just sends a different message when the police shows up. It escalates fast, ooh, you know. And you don't want to see that client get a record or anything.
Well, and part of that too, like my staff deals with that almost every call they go out on. Like clients are like, why are the cops here? And it's like, well, because they're here for my safety. They've got the spiel down to be able to be like, okay, I get it, they're freaking you out, but I'm not a police officer. I work for the hospital system. I'm a therapist. I'm here to talk to you. You seem to be having a rough time. What's going on with your day? Tell me how you feel. Right, like we've gotten that language down so that in the moment we can work around the fact that we are showing up with law enforcement, because it does, I mean, you know, folks have some trepidation. People are worried about getting, you know, put in cuffs. I get it. But my staff is like, a very small percentage of our calls result in those kinds of people jail. So that's the other thing to think about in the back of your mind. Other questions? Thoughts, comments, concerns? Very excited about hearing some calls from South County.
You're gonna get them, be ready.
Yeah. Between a few of us, right?
One quick question for you guys. How many
ready, I'm thinking.
How many of the staff, like the folks in this room, how many of you guys have somebody who has a 5150 card at your agency location? How many of you have the ability to write a 5150? Okay, so like about half, maybe? Okay. Yeah, so if you guys have somebody on staff that can write a hold but isn't sure, make sure that you guys come and consult. We're happy to help with that as well. So, to help support.
Well, thank you, Amy. Any other questions for Amy? Any last minute things or?
Well, I'm gonna hang out until the rest of your meeting is done, because I know you wanted to talk.
No, you answered everything. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Fantastic, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
All right,
this is
so
great. Thank you.
you all have my number and my email address, so
Thank you.
I hope to hear from you all. Thanks, guys.
That's awesome. So we do have a couple ongoing points that we just continue to digest every meeting, so we'll just kind of touch each point. I know Jan tends to have a little bit more information to provide on each of them, but if there's anything that you guys have that we can discuss it. The first one being creeks and encampment issues and cleanups. I know that there was a period of time where there was some red tagging that was happening that was pretty aggressive and ongoing, and that was happening back to back to back. I actually personally haven't seen any more red tags. I don't know if you know of anything else, or if you know of any upcoming red tags, or.
I'm not sure about upcoming. We're still doing it periodically, and it's based on the water district needs to site out. Give us a heads up, and we do the notices. It's strictly just to make them aware that the water district. And we've actually gone a little further recently. What we do now, we tag, which is at least a week in advance, and then we send officers out the day before and say, hey, they're coming tomorrow. Give that extra notice. And then we even send officers out an hour before they're actually there and say, hey, they're coming in like an hour. So you know, so we've been trying to just make that notification as much as possible.
Yeah.
But they're still doing it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's ever gonna stop. So kind of in response to that, so it's open to community members, but I think the original target of creating this group was for the individuals experiencing the red tag, so individuals who are out in the creeks, for them to kind of come together and try to work on the issues. So I know that Jan is currently hosting the safe, I think she's calling it Safe Camp, where they're trying to come together to see if they can put together a model and be able to operate a camping program within city limits, not in county campgrounds. So if any of you are interested in kind of being a part of that group, it's just, it's a group that's just meeting together. I think it's Wednesday evenings at the Cada's office on First Street. I don't have all the details 100%, but I know that she has it as a group on Facebook. So if anyone's interested, contact me afterwards and I'll make sure that Jan gets that information to you guys. But I think that's kind of the avenue that they're taking to try to find another solution for the creeks and encampment sweeps and stuff, because we don't seem to be making a lot of headway on making those stops. Because I mean, they have to. Water district has to do what they have to do, so we need to try to get creative. So moving on to the next one is the cold weather operations and the cold weather shelter. I don't
don't know if you want to say anything about it, or if you want me to.
You can say something, but at the same time, we have spaces available. Our utilization numbers are extremely down this year, and we would love to see those numbers climb. I mean, we have space for 130, and we're averaging around 80 to 75 in some cases, so a lot of spots available there at the Armory. And said families, singles, adults.
Yeah.
So families are also able to
Yes.
stay at the.
Yes, ideally, we try to get them a spot at a chore if there's some openings there, but for the most part, families can come.
What are the numbers down?
Well, we work close with the Compassion Center. You want to speak on the
Yeah,
surveys we
so
do?
part of the outreach that we do, so we have a team that goes out to try to encourage people. So first of all, there's two aspects to it. We encourage people and educate people that the Armory exists, because half the time we go out there and they go, oh, I had no idea that the Armory existed. And then the other half of it is when there's an inclement weather episode that gets decided by the county, or declared by the county, we want to go out there and warn people, hey, it's supposed to get really cold tonight, it's supposed to get really wet tonight. So we go out there and try to give them the heads up. While we're out there, we have the staff doing these questionnaires, which is, if you're not using the Armory, why? And the top 3 answers that have come back from these questionnaires, we did them last year, halfway through the season, and then this year we've done it the entire season, is they don't like having to leave so early, that they do get discharged at 6 a.m. And the response is, well, if I'm gonna have to get up at 6, I might as well just bundle myself under 100 blankets and sleep until 8 or 9 where I'm at. The second one is that the Armory right now doesn't allow pets, and that's not a program rule, that's a facility rule, that's not really negotiable at this point. And then the other one is the sleeping arrangements, in that either they don't like being in such a large group of people, it's overwhelming and it causes a lot of anxiety, or they don't like that they have to sleep separate from their partner. They, get used to kind of taking care of each other, and some of the partners even have medical needs, but men and women are required to sleep separately. Unless they're in a family unit with children present, they do keep the families together, but if you're a childless household, they do separate the men and women. So those are the top 3 reasons that we've documented why people aren't using it. We've talked about that all 3 of those could be things that we could alleviate if we owned our own shelter building, because pretty much all 3 of those kind of come down to the facility that we're operating out of. But who knows, maybe we get our own facility, we change those 3 things, and then we do the survey, and there's a whole 3 different other things. I don't know if that's really it, but right now that's what the data shows.
And we did see a drop when the military came up with the pet policy on us. We did, there's a lot of clients.
And we do often see spikes on the days that they're allowed to stay in all day, when they know they can sleep in and not have to be woken up at 6 a.m. Because like on certain holidays, like Monday, President's Day, they'll be allowed to stay in all day. So we'll probably, but what is it usually, like 20, 30 the spike, or?
Yeah, it's a pretty good spike. It just depends on what's going on. We're not competing with nothing going on in town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask why they have to leave at 6?
It's the military requirements there.
So
We
what
got
do they
restraints
do,
there.
what do they do from 6 to 8 in the morning, the military?
They're supposed to have a recruit on site, and, they just give, that's our license. There's nothing we can do about that.
Right.
They do have a recruitment officer there, but, that big old long line, people signing up for the military.
Yeah, no, that just doesn't fly.
No, it does not.
And when I'm up at 6 a.m. and I'm thinking about the people, because we both go over and serve once a month over there, so you see kind of the situation.
Of course.
And I think, wow, those poor people are having to be kicked out.
Now, lucky we
This time
team
of
up the
day.
Compassion Center, they pick them up for us, and they do have an option of going there too.
Yeah, we shuttle them in the morning, so.
But the whole pet thing, when did that start?
3 years ago, I wouldn't say 3 to 4, I think 3 years ago.
And it's just tended to get even more and more strict, because I think last year we kind of got away with companion animals
Yeah.
versus service animals, and then this year it was just not even, like 100% just a service animal. And, but that's not the most common kind of animal a lot of folks have.
That's very.
And even with the pets, that is an open gym, and you're sleeping this close to a pit bull, it's not the ideal for, it's not the right setup anyway, to be honest with you. If we were to allow pets, it would have to be a limit, and even maybe consider the poundage too, because a lot of, they sleep so close together, you roll over on a pit bull tail or foot or something, you're liable to get sniffled, it's just not the right setup for pets
Linda
anyway.
Jones, are you discriminating against
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love to walk.
I'm just giving you that.
Hey, cats.
About
Get
snakes,
on.
companion snakes.
No, but I think if she stated, if we own that facility, I think that building has a lot of other unused space that the military does not let us have access
Do
to.
you see that coming anytime soon?
I
The county
do,
opening
I do,
facility?
I
South
do.
County is just like,
Oh,
the numbers of who's
That
so
would be
high.
good.
I can see it,
That's
I can
really
see it. If we don't
good.
hit any roadblocks, we would love to have control of that building. I mean, it's gonna be public knowledge, that building is gonna be sold, and we're waiting to jump on and get
Can
in
you
line.
imagine when that
We
happens?
might, I don't know how big the county pockets are, we're gonna be going against some developers, I'm sure. So I don't know how deep the county pockets are.
So kind of going into that, I'm gonna kind of reverse one of the points on here, just because I think it's a relevant segue. So I mean, a lot of the excitement that brings up for us is that it would be a year-round shelter if we had the ownership of it, or by we, I mean the county.
Well, yeah, could, I mean, there's always
Yeah.
opposition.
That's our goal, right? That's our goal, is that we would want to advocate for a year-round shelter, because the one that's operating right now closes April 15th. So come April 15th, there's not anything available. We like to think that we could operate it in a way that would remove the top 3 barriers that people have indicated to us. But I think part of it comes into, so what we have listed here is a declaration of a shelter emergency. And that myself, I know Jan has gone up to City Council, and we've requested that City Council declare a shelter emergency in Gilroy. And the only requirement for that is that the number of shelter beds available is less than the number of documented homeless individuals. And right now, we have, 160 beds available between Ochoa and the Armory? And those 160 are only halfway through the year. They're only 6 months out of the 12 months. And we have over 700 documented individuals in Gilroy. And to date, we still cannot get City Council to declare that. So I think what we're asking is for you, community members, to go to your city council, to write to your city council, to write to your mayor. I've sent numerous emails, have not gotten a response to any of them. I've called my city council, I've gotten a response from any of them. That, what does it do if we declare a shelter emergency? How would that
Just
help us in
opening you
Gilroy?
up, you open up for more funding, you know, that's the biggest thing. I mean, that heat money that came down the pipes, a lot of individuals wrote in and was available too, because you had to declare, in order to qualify for that funding, you had to have a shelter crisis in your jurisdiction, so it opens you up for options there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, if that does happen, you know, it could just be, it would be huge for the city, you know, just like other cities. And resources could grow. I mean, there's a fear that it would draw more homeless here, and we just gotta keep changing that perspective here. I mean, a lot of people fear that.
So we hear from the community that that's not your fear, and in fact, you are looking for more responsiveness. I think that would start to change their opinion about it, because my personal opinion about it is you can't fix a problem unless you're willing to acknowledge a problem.
Right.
And right now, I feel personally, as someone that grew up in Gilroy, has family in Gilroy, where like I consider myself not just a service provider, but a community member, I feel like I'm somewhat being held hostage in my community because we can't make any progress on this issue, because our city leaders aren't acknowledging the issue. So we ask you guys to advocate, do what you can, you know, but the biggest thing is that we want to work with the city. We're not trying to work against them. We want them to acknowledge it so that we can come together. You know, we don't want it to be us butting heads the entire time. It should be a partnership. So, and that way it can alleviate the amount of stress that's being put on the police department. Because I think Amy even said earlier that, you know, they're there for protection, but they do a core amount of the work in trying to de-escalate it, because we don't want mental health. We don't want these other issues going through the police system, because that overworks you guys. So I'm going on about this. I can go on this soapbox forever, but that's kind of one of the points that we had for the declaration of a shelter emergency.
Sure. And just also, I don't want everybody to be like, oh, we might have this possibility. Anytime you open up any shelters, anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna call a lot of them in San Jose. There's so much opposition that it does take a long time, so we don't want to, you know, I don't try to get the hopes, oh yeah, we get if the county is able to purchase that building, oh, it's gonna become a year-round shelter. It doesn't work like that. I mean, There's a lot of permits, a lot of things. Even with that building itself, it will have to be a study done because of the weapons and stuff that's there. There's certain parts of that building we're not even allowed to have access to now, because of, it has to be an environmental study done and things like that. So I say that that if we were able to get it just for the emergency shelter piece, it could open up a lot more for us, you know. Maybe, you know, it'd take a while to get to that year-round piece, because It's Sunnyvale, it took us, I don't know how many years to battle for that shelter, but hey, it happened, but it didn't happen overnight. It was a lot of meetings, a lot of opposition, so I just want to put that out there. Emergency shelter is the easiest because it is seen as temporary, something that's just an emergency. And it's only during a certain time of the month when the weather is bad, which is normally winter months, so just want to put that out there.
Can I ask one more question? Is this brought up to the city council on a regular basis? I mean, we could generate support of people to show up to city council meetings if we knew that this was on the agenda.
So I don't believe it's going to be on the actual agenda until April. That's when my understanding of when the homeless issue is going to be an actual discussion point. But up until then, we've just gone and done the open discussion where you just like address the council, but they don't actually offer any address back. But even outside those city council meetings, I'm, you know, trying to open a dialogue and having a difficult time. But I know that there's so much more, they're so busy with everything else, so I try to look at the balance of it.
And this is why I tied in the police calls with the armory, just, or when they have a mental health. Because when neighbors see police at the armory, guess who they blame? They don't care if it's a medical emergency, they're saying, oh, you're calling way too high, not you, Tony, you know. All the neighbors want to know, oh, that place is off the hinges over there. There's police and firemen all the time there. And, you know, the calls I get trying to defend, and, you know, so that's when I was asking if there was a way where the police didn't have to be involved, because trust me, it's like people that were not.
Oh, for sure.
The police was there at 2:00 a.m. and it was what was going on, that place is off the
And
hook.
then it's on next door.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, then it gets on the internet.
Nextdoor is my next adventure to get our phone number out to the public via Nextdoor, so that hopefully they call us and then everyone will chatter about how Mobile Crisis responded, and then when law enforcement shows up, they won't have a hissy fit about it.
Yeah.
This is my next
Well, you'll
adventure.
be getting calls for everything on Nextdoor.
For sure.
Okay.
I have a maybe meeting. You were sharing that there's 700 identified homeless, and then is that Gilroy or the whole community?
Gilroy. That's based off the 2019 point in time homeless count.
Is that number or that rate for what, I don't know what the population of Gilroy is off the top of my head, but is that rate of homelessness pretty consistent through the state, or is that higher than?
You're talking about like ratios, like
Yes,
compared to?
yeah, compared to other
like
cities
San
of its
Jose?
size, or it's higher?
No, it's a little bit spiked.
Tiered spiked?
Yeah, tiered's a little bit spiked. I don't know the exact percentage compared to like other places, but I do know in our jurisdiction, we're the second highest to San Jose. And the jurisdiction is like all the way up to Palo Alto, Mountain View, something like, I don't know.
So now we're talking
the
about
exact, but
total numbers or rates?
Because this year, at the point in time, capital numbers went down.
Total numbers.
It went down here in summer, in Gilroy, the capital, last year.
From 2019,
For the 2 years ago,
from 2019, it went down?
2017.
Right, yeah, so, but it's still a huge
I
number.
mean, 600 is something that's high in
Yeah.
this area, but I'm just saying, you know.
Yeah, so you
Can't
can
say the
actually
argument
go
is-
online and Google the point in time homeless count and.
Breaks down every jurisdiction.
Yeah, we'll break down jurisdiction, it'll break down the cities, it'll break down, you know, the 700's even broken down to unsheltered and sheltered, meaning those that are in temporary shelters or couch surfing or in cars versus those that are truly just on the streets, so. You could definitely always look that up. All right, then last thing, or second to last thing, is just an update on the Project Homeless Connect. I know we sent out a preliminary email to service providers, just kind of letting you know to save the date and to expect a date coming up soon in March. I know that we had sent March 13th, but we're actually having a really hard time securing the facility that we want for that date. So it will be in that general time range, but it might end up being a different date. So we'll send out a confirmation email once we can finally get the venue secured. But it is going to be happening in March, early March. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Are you still gonna try for a Friday?
We might not be able to. Yeah, no, it's a, yeah, I don't know.
Should be able to leave my
Absolutely, yeah. And then the last thing is kind of just an open opportunity for any program updates that we can open it up to anyone here. But I did want to maybe start, actually, I mentioned it and then I realized, Sam, do you have any more information about that safe camping meeting? I remembered you're here and you're more in tune with it.
At the moment, we pretty much touched based on everything. Jan's gonna put together some type of, meeting, once again, you guys go on her site, on, Facebook, and so, she pretty much has everything broken down right there.
Yeah, okay, do you know when the next one is by chance? I don't remember.
Jan hasn't set a date yet.
Okay, so then, yeah, if you log on to Jan's Facebook for the State of Camp, she'll post the next one that's happening. But we can go around, do you have anything you want to say, Linda, then? or-
I mentioned this in our other meeting this week, but there's a culinary program that we're starting up in the Mountain View Shelter Program, food service, whether in their kitchen, their commercial kitchen. It's strictly, we want to prioritize those for individuals that are in the rapid rehousing program. It's a 9-week program. If you have someone that's homeless and they're interested, you can definitely reach out to me right now because we're still getting staff in place. Yeah, ideally it's in Mountain View, that's a ways away, but if they really have a strong desire and they want to go into culinary arts and be a chef, job training, you can look them up. They have a 85% success rate of someone graduating and going on into that food industry field, so please let me know, and we want to make some referrals. It'll be going on as a 2-year pilot program, but for the first year, they're looking to serve up to 40 individuals. So if you know anyone that really want to be a chef and they need to get that food served, saved, and all those basic or requirement skills, go through that whole curriculum, I want them. It's free, and it's guaranteed of an 85% success rate, so I take those odds.
And they also get housing while they're in training?
It is case management attached, the question is case management attached to, there's a partnership between Life Moves and job training, and between those two, the employment is first priority course, because if we're targeting that rapid rehousing in the top tier, should be already housed or about to be housed, so.
Okay.
But still, they could be in that waiting period too, so. And also, I say we're targeting rapid rehousing, but we're opening it up as well. They might not get the first cohort, but they can be the second or third, just depending on what the interest level is for that. But I would love the names if you have them fairly early. As soon as Life Food get their staff in place, I will ask you, so I said refer to them.
I don't have any program updates, so I'll skip. Do you have any program updates?
No.
Anything? Just keep moving along. Anyone, raise your hand if you're excited.
Yes,
Roberta.
Okay, everybody do your census, okay? So Gardner's received some grant funding in regard to census. As you know, basically the size of California means how much money is coming into California. The more we outreach to our unhoused and homeless people, we get them to complete their census, it's just gonna be really, it's really gonna be beneficial. We're gonna be working with, hopefully we can do an event at Compassion Center, and we'll probably do some weekly outreach at the Armory in regard to this. You may start seeing posters that look like this, kind of floating around. If anybody's interested in being, a partner with us and doing some sort of an event, we've got staff that will be available to you with iPads, and they're going to be trained very well in how to assist people in doing, doing their application, doing their census form. If anybody does want to do an event with us, I urge you to give me a call. My phone number is 408-935-3918. I can email you this. This is actually approved through the Census Bureau, and this space down here at the bottom, you could drop your logo into. You could put any information you want in here, regarding any census activities that you'd like to do. So that's it on census. And as far as Gardner's concerned down here in South County, we continue to do our bi-weekly services at the Armory, and then on the other weeks, we're going out to Ochoa. Nothing really remarkable that's going on, so just kind of status quo. And that's all I've got. Anybody else?
No more
program update?
Yeah, Wes White from Salinas, Monterey County. There's a Coalition of Homeless Service Providers Board in Monterey, San Benito County that they just put out a draft position on sweeps. So basically, when a sweep goes out in this red tag, they want to, since they've been already invited into the process of signing people up for services and everything, they want their own timeline. Okay, now that you red tagged it, we want to go out, we want to put in dumpsters, we want to put in porta potties and sign people up for services, see if we can mitigate the specifically cited health and safety concerns that are specifically cited. That's what they like to see on the notices. And more or less sanction encampments. I mean, you know, because where they're at, you understand we can't house them anywhere, so that's where it's at. As long as pee-poo, trash, and food is placed, then maybe there's some kind of community arrangement that can be happening to, you know, have kitchen and shower and laundry service. You know, that's a huge piece of it is, and we're talking about the census too. If we can let people sit and we know where they're at, they're residents, they're no longer homeless because they have a home. They're consistently, even if it's a piece of dirt, that would be home. You know, be a huge step in the right direction, I think. And that was what I was also thinking of a question with the mental health services. Does anyone ever call about, I was doing just fine until I got a red notice, and now I don't know where I'm going to go.
So I don't know, maybe Brad can speak to this. I don't know that we've ever gotten that specific phone call, but we would be happy. Like sometimes what'll happen is law enforcement will contact us and go like, hey, we know we're going to go, we're doing an eviction, we're working, you know, with certain folks in an encampment, and we anticipate that it's going to be problematic, and they will set up with us a non-urgent call. So it's like a scheduled call where we go out. There isn't a crisis yet, but we will respond to it when they go out to do whatever it is that they're going to do. So that is something that we will coordinate with law enforcement.
Unfortunately, when people are in a mental health crisis, sometimes they're unable to advocate for themselves well. So we have gotten community, you know, concerned people in the community call us, and we would go out to an encampment. We would go anywhere. So yeah, if somebody can't advocate for themselves due to their mental health, other people might call us on the community line, and then we would go out and help them.
Right. I wish you folks could prescribe like just a place there where they could stay, you know, where they could be and not have to be red tagged.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, so we're coming up to 11:15. So I think we're supposed to go to 11:30, but if we had any case management that you guys wanted to talk about, we usually do that in private so anyone can stay behind. If not, then does anyone have anyone they would like to consult or conference about? If not, then we can just kind of dismiss and just make connections with Amy if you guys have any questions. All right, the next one I believe is scheduled, I have it on here, March 15th. So that might be changing depending on our project when we connect, so we will also inform you on that. Yes, it should be working. Okay. All right, thank you guys.